Make It Monday with Helen. I am so excited that you're back again, and I'm even more excited to be here. How much fun, oh my God, was last week? Who knew that putting yourself in front of a camera can create so many wonderful things to happen? I can't begin to tell you how much of a blast I had. I hope you guys did too, and I hope you tried out that knotted fabric wreath. Remember how hard that is to say it quickly? We'll say it slowly. Knotted fabric wreath. If you have, I would love to see some examples of it. So please do send through some photos if you can via my Facebook page, Arbor Street Vintage. What? What's that? You have a new name? Yes, I do. What once was Arbor Street is now Arbor Street Vintage, and I am totes stoked about it. So jump on and have a look. So what are we doing today? Well, as you can see, I have a whole host of goodies in front of me, and we are going to make a rustic wall hook. A what? I hear you say? A rustic wall hook. Okay, all right, I admit it doesn't look like much, but we're going to team it with a hanging mason jar. And then you are in for a whole lot of surprises because you can put flowers in your hanging mason jar and hang it from your rustic wall hook. And how pretty is that? We love that. So I'm going to show you how to do both of these things and put it together and make something truly gorgeous. Okay, so what do we need to make our rustic wall hooks and our jar? Well, first of all, you need a jar. That's a pretty important piece of the puzzle, yeah? This is your average everyday spaghetti bolognese jar. I like to buy my spaghetti bolognese from Aldi, but you might like to get it from somewhere else. So your jar might be slightly different to my jar, but it doesn't matter. You can use whatever jar you have. Just make sure you soak the label off and get rid of the glue because you do want it to be nice and pristine. You also need a piece of wood. Any old piece of wood, it doesn't matter. Length is entirely up to you. There's no right or wrong. It's very organic. It's very fly by the seat of your pants. Have a look around your house. What do you have? I have some old pallets. These guys actually I use for painting furniture. I stick them underneath the furniture to raise them up a little bit, but they're a perfect width, and I knew that I could just saw them into pieces and paint them whatever color we're going to paint them, which I'm going to show you in a second. So any old piece of wood can do. Perhaps it's an old fence paling. I have used these before and these look awesome. You can use anything, and as I said, width and height totally up to you. It is whatever you want it to look like. You also need some kind of hook. Now this is the fun part. I'm going to use an old doorknob. Now I have a guy. I have a good guy. His name's John. And he owns Antiques and All Sorts on Mason Street in Newport. And he has a heap of awesome old things like this. You just go in there and you say, John, I'm doing a craft project and I need some old door handles. Do you have them? Now, I was really lucky with these door handles because I had another guy who actually sawed the big bolt that comes between the two door handles off for me. It's made of solid metal. I broke his angle grinder, but we managed to saw it down because you need it to sit flush up against your piece of wood like that. The other option is if you have a little bit of that metal piece sticking out, you can drill a little hole in there just so you can slip that through, but you want it to sit as flat as you can, okay? So I was really lucky that I had these two guys that could do this for me. Now you can also use any other hooks. You can use just a standard hook if you wish. You can see how that can just fit on like so. That looks so pretty. You can use, I love these. I have a load of these in my drawer. These are vintage doorknobs and door plates, can you see? Now, once again, these come with that big metal bolt because that is how doors are sold and how you actually connect them through a door. I've taken that out because I'm not really into breaking anyone else's angle grinder, so you know what, we're just gonna unbolt the whole thing. And you can get a really strong glue. I have used nail glue in the past. I also know that the glue that you use to attach a windscreen onto a car, you can buy from Bunnings for about $8. And when you put a piece of that on, dude, that sucker's not gonna move. And then you just screw the whole thing onto the plate and it will look really, really pretty. You can also, if you wanna be super fancy and add one more element of crafting, you can use a spoon. Do you see that? Isn't that cool? This is an old spoon with a cricketer on the front. Now, I'm not going to show you how to do this, at least not today, and I may not do it in the future. Because there are loads and loads of YouTube videos where people are showing you how to flatten a spoon or a fork and then how to bend it up. It is so simple. I literally used my stovetop to heat up the spoon, let it cool, and then I just used a hammer on a piece of wood out the back on my deck, and wow, I've made a hook. Now, to drill a hole in this piece here, in this metal, you need a metal drill bit. You can't use a wooden drill bit. So pop on down to Bunnings if you haven't got one already, and ask the tool shop people what you need, and they'll be able to point you in the right direction. You can buy pretty cheap drill kits, or you can just buy a one-off. It doesn't really matter, but I can't wait to get a drill through that and stick that onto a piece of paling, because it is going to look so cute. Look there. Oh, that is so beautiful. I love. So there are just some examples. It's really up to you. I like to use whatever I can find, or particularly whatever I have in the house. Now, sometimes you're not always going to have stuff. So, you can go and buy something new. You can go and buy a new hook. It's totally up to you. This is however you want it to look, as is with all my craft, because it's all based on do-it-yourself, whatever you find vintage. So what else do we need? Well, we need a drill. That is so we can put our doorknob onto our piece of wood. We also need not a selfie stick. I don't know why that's there. We need a paintbrush and we need some paint. I'm just going to use my Annie Sloan chalk paint. The reason why I'm using this today is, one, it's on hand, and two, is it dries really, really fast, so I can actually show you how to get this done really quickly. You can use any paint. You can even decoupage, you can put some wallpaper on it, you can stain it if it's a really nice piece of wood, you can leave it as it is. You don't actually need to do anything, but we're going to paint. You also need some wire. So I have wrapped some wire. Can you see? Let me get closer. I've wrapped some wire around this, and I'll be back in a minute because I have left my roll of wire somewhere. Hang on, I'm coming. Wait for me. Here I am. I have a roll of garden wire. I again bought this from Bunnings. Bunnings, you are getting a massive plug from me today. I bought this from Bunnings in the garden section. It is just a fairly sturdy but thin roll of wire, and I'm going to show you how to measure off the wire and how to attach it to the jar. Gosh, my nose is itchy today. Is anyone else having hay fever? Seriously, I love this weather, but really, break out the Claritines. Okay, so we're going to get started. Oh, of course, you also need screws in which to put your doorknob on. So we're going to get started. We're going to do this one today. I've given this a little bit of a sand down. Obviously we're going for a rustic look, but there's a difference between rustic and splinters, and you don't want splinters because they hurt. So give it a little sand down where you need to. Make sure that your edges and your bottoms are smooth so we can avoid some unnecessary injuries. Rightio, let's get this going. So I'm going to paint this a very pretty sort of lilac pinky purple. Okay, we're just gonna slather this on. Now there's some little divots in this. There's some little holes and whatnot. I don't care because, as we know, it's all very rustic. You can do the distressing if you want to do the distressing, in which case you do need a little bit of sandpaper, and I just don't have any on hand, but I will go get some. Okay, so I'm just gonna pop this on. For anyone interested in chalk paint, and as I said, you don't have to use chalk paint. You can just do whatever you have on hand, or you can just go down and, get yourself a nice little sample pot of paint. You might even have something left over from some painting that perhaps you've done in your house. You don't need to paint both sides. You only need to paint one, but do remember, I'm going to end up with paint everywhere. Do remember to paint the bottom of your piece of wood, yeah, because it's going to look really silly when you hang it up and everything else is looking really cool. And oh my God, there we go. I haven't actually painted the bottom. I paint the two long sides, the top and the bottom, and I paint the front, and then that's about it. I'm not stressed with making this a perfect paint because you don't need to, unless you want to. Don't you love that about my craft? You can actually just do whatever you want. I'm just giving you the tools to show you how about going to put something together and what you need to be able to put them together, and then you can go and have some absolute fun. Explore your creativity, people. This is what this is all about. Okay, so that is done. I'm going to go and give that brush a clean. This chalk paint is gorgeous. It's thick. You don't need a lot of coats. I'm literally just putting one coat on. I'm going to go and wash my brush with soap and water, and that is all going to be gorgeous. So while we let that dry, I have now got paint all over my hands. We're going to do, let's just move this out the way. We're going to do the jar. I have a jar. So we have two elements to our jar. We have wire that wraps around the rim, which gives you the hook hold, or the hold onto the piece that we're going to hang. And this is our second piece of wire. So this is how I do it. Really, really simple. I measure off approximately how high I want my hook to sit. Yeah, so I'm going to go for about that. Again, it's totally, can you see that? It's a little bit hard, bit throw away. Totally up to you. Then I'm going to give myself around 1 inch on either side. So I've measured that from where I'm going to wrap the wire around. And then you're going to give yourself about 1 inch on either side. So I am going to get my wire cutters, which are over here. If you don't have some wire cutters, that's okay. You can run down to your hardware store. Notice how I said hardware store then, not Buddies, because they don't pay me for this. And you can buy a relatively cheap pair of wire cutters, which I have. Or if you have a look in your toolbox, in your shed, you may actually have a pair of pliers that has a wire cutter already into it. Can you see? If you look at the pliers, there is this little gap in the center here. They are actually wire cutters. I've killed this set. Honestly, I have tried to cut some pretty thick wire and some bolts over time, and I've killed it, which is why I now have a separate one, but you don't need it. Okay, so let's just remeasure that. Give yourself about 1 inch on either side. Why do you do that? Because you need to be able to twist the wire, and I just find that having a little bit of excess wire makes it easy to twist it. Yeah, so because otherwise it can be quite harsh on your hands. So what I do is about 1 inch up, I use the side of my wire cutters, and I actually just push it around, and then I twist the wire. Can you see that? Beautiful. And then I just use my pliers. I should have said you needed a wire cutter and pliers, shouldn't I? That was a bit mean of me. Okay. Use your pliers just to sort of bring your wire together, and then you have a little hook, like so. Now you're not going to need it that wide, so what you're going to do is you're going to squeeze it together, and you're going to make it a little bit tight. Awesome. All right, so we're going to do exactly the same. Give yourself about 1 inch. Fold your wire, here we go, over the top like so. You can see that. And then you're just going to twist. This does not have to be perfect, people. You just want to create a loop and a bit of a twisty bit, yeah? Okay, take that off. Awesome. I'm just going to bring my wire. I'm going to twist it a little bit more just to bring the wire together, because you really don't want those ends sticking out, because if you catch them with your finger, they hurt. Alrighty, squeeze that together, and ta-da! I have a little arch, I have a handle. So cool and exciting. Really, when you're crafting, little things like this really make you excited. Okay, so you see that? There we go. Looking good. Right, now we want another piece of wire. We want to be able to wrap this around our jar at least twice, okay? So give yourself a good length. Sorry, I was going to say be generous. You don't need to worry about cutting off excess and wasting, because we're just going to wrap it in and make it stronger. So I'm going to cut it off. I'm estimating, all right? You don't have to be perfect. Cut it off, get rid of those, and pick out my wire cutters. Weirdly, I love cutting wire. It's like, you know when you're a kid and you used to cut paper with scissors because it was the coolest feeling? Well, that's me and wire. Just make sure you're not wearing a top that you want to get ruined, because I've done that and it's really annoying. Rightio. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my arch and I'm going to thread my piece of wire through my 2 loops. So, like that. And then I'm going to bend. Now I'm going to come a little bit closer, because I know I've got my camera a bit far away, but I don't have my kids to help me out today. One's at camp, one's at school, so I'm just going to have to do this on my own. So I'm going to bring this forward. I'm going to wrap it around the jar, making sure that my handle is roughly in the center. And you can see how I'm wrapping it underneath that bottom lip. So I'm going to get to the middle here. I'm going to pull it as tight as I can. Go away. I'm going to pull that. It's fun when you talk to inanimate objects. Pull that away, and I'm going to twist that. Whoopsie. I'm going to twist that around like that. And that is going to anchor your wire. Then all I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the ends back through. Now I've actually inserted them back through these loops. Okay, and there we go. Get your pliers and just give that a little tug. Okay, you can just tug it in, you can leave it hanging, you can try and tuck it in underneath the wire ring, it's up to you. You can glue it so it doesn't move. I'm not too fast, I just kind of leave it there and hope that I don't actually stick it into my finger. Okay, we're going to tuck that other side through there. We're going to give that a little pull because we actually do want that. Don't, guys, you are working with glass, yeah, so don't press the pliers up against the glass and try to use the glass as leverage because you'll break it. And we don't want that to happen. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to attempt to tuck that under. I'm not overly fussed if I can't get it to tuck under. I just don't, as I said, I just don't really want to stick myself with the wire. So there we go, it's on, yippee. Okay, I'm gonna give that a little, this one's not holding. So, how can you do two perfectly good ones and then not actually, then the third one that you're trying to show people doesn't work? I probably could actually, to be fair, have done with a bit of a longer length to give myself a really good twist around, but that is gonna hold. Do you see that? That is gonna hold, that is gorgeous. You're gonna love it. This is gonna get really funky now. Okay, so we have our jar. And have a look. I'm just going to come back and say it's not perfect. It doesn't need to be. If you're someone that loves perfect, you can play with it until it is. I'm not, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Now, our piece of wood is nearly dry, but I am debating whether or not to spray paint this. Actually, I was going to spray paint it gold, but I think I'm going to leave it like this because I actually really like that contrast. Can you see that contrast? Of the grey, it's not really silver because it's kind of really dirty, the metal grey and the old white paint. I really love that contrast. I think that looks really pretty. So I'm actually going to leave it just like that. Before I screw this on, however, I'm going to attach some wire or some rope and make a little hook, a little hanging, because you want to hang it. And it's much easier to do that before you put one of these on, because obviously you can't lay it flat to get that leverage. So I've got some rope. I'm going to pop that down. I think I've just got, yes I have, I've got paint on my arm. Not to worry, I'm used to that. Now I'm going to pop a little nosh. You need to knot your rope if you're using rope because it might fray over time and then it will come apart and that will be really annoying. I've worked out that when you're dealing with small pieces of rope, rather than trying to tie a knot in a little tiny piece of rope, don't cut it off yet. Actually tie the knot when it's still attached to the main roll, because it's so much easier to knot and to pull. And then all you have to do is cut the end off. Okay, now I'm just gonna go and get a pair of scissors because duh, I forgot the scissors. All right, wait for me. You know I'll come back. I did last time. Do not run with scissors. Walk gently and slowly with scissors, okay? Running with the wire was fine. Don't run with scissors. Okay, we're gonna cut that off. God, I love doing these. It's just so cool being able to show people how to make things. And I love that I am not perfect at it. I love that I forgot the scissors and I had to run away and get them. Yeah, because you got to look at all the pretty stuff on my table and maybe play with yours. Are you playing with yours? You can actually make this as you go. I am going to give you a list of things that you need at the end of this video too, so you can go off and do it yourself. Radio. Actually, I should do it at the start, shouldn't I? That would make much more sense. Right, staple gun. Roughly work out where you want it to go. Staple, and my staple gun's not working. There we go. Oh, my staple gun really is not working. Hang on a minute. That's got to come out. That's a bit dodge. Let's try again. Woohoo! Success! Yeah! Done. Not exactly where it needs to be. Good enough. Let's go. this is getting fun. Okay, so I love using tools. There we go. We're now going to put our hanger, we're going to put our doorknob onto our piece of wood. Now, let's say, for example, you actually do want to use one of these old plates. What I suggest you do is actually fix the plate first. I'm not going to, obviously, because I'm not using one, but can you just see, doesn't that look beautiful? A couple of Christmases ago, my daughter Lucy gave me a brand new vintage inspired gold doorknob because I was making some things like this. And I'm actually going to use that to make a couple to put up in my room to hang. I have some beautiful straw hats to hang my straw hats off. So you can do all sorts of things with these ideas using old doorknobs. And then once I digressed, didn't I? Totally lost track of what I was saying. Once you have stuck that on, you've actually screwed that on, then you can just glue that in the center. And as I said, you can get some really high strength glues. Take it with you, go to Bunnings and actually tell the guys in those certain areas, I want to be able to glue this down because I want to use it as a wall hanger, as a hook. What strength glue can I use? Do not use PVC craft glue, do not use hot wax. It's not going to work. And if you're hanging a jar of water with roses in it and it falls off, you're not only going to break your jar, yeah, but you're going to have water all over the place, and that's going to be really, really annoying. We don't want to create problems when we craft. We're here to relax, enjoy, be creative, and have fun, not get a broom out, yeah? Okay, righty-o, I am going to put this in. I am going to roughly say where I want it to go. I do not need to mark the center because I'm organic. If you want to be a planner, actually, you know what? There are two types of artists, and I got this from an Annie Sloan workshop when I went to, and it was awesome because I'd never considered this before. But you are either an organic artist or you're a planned artist, and I am very much an organic artist. There's occasions when I plan and then I end up doing something completely different. In fact, that's actually happening with a cupboard that I'm painting at the moment. The bugger just will not work. My plan completely fell in the toilet, so not literally, by the way. So I'm just going with it now. I'm just kind of letting it go. And this is what my craft is. My craft is often very organic. I'll have an idea of what I want and then I'll go for it and I'll see what happens. Right. Okay, and sometimes that's fun, but some people actually will not be able to cope with that. So that's fine. Okay, now make sure that nope, wrong way. All right, here we go. If it's an old soft wood, you don't need to drill a hole. You just be able to screw that right in. If you decide that you do want to spray paint or you want to paint the piece, I have partially painted this with the duck egg blue because I wanted that look, but I really love this contrast. But if you do decide that you want to paint the whole hook that you're using, make sure you paint the top of the screw too, because there's nothing worse than having a beautiful, let's say gold. This is one of the golds that I was planning on using. There's no point having a beautifully sprayed piece of hardware only to have your basic silver screws stick out the front of it. Yeah, you want it to all look good. Okay, let's. Yay! Woohoo! Righty-o, people, have a look at that. Are we clever? We are so freaking clever. Oh my Lord. Then all you have to do, here's one I prepared earlier, as you saw from the start of the video. This is one that I have already done, my mason jar. I've put some roses in it and I have hung it up like that. You can also use tea lights. It'll look really pretty. You can have a row of them if you wanted to. You can, what you can do is endless, but these make the most beautiful gifts. So look out, family and friends, because you're either going to get some rustic wall hangings for Christmas, or I'm going to get funky with a fork and a spoon and I'm going to make your bracelet. So that's it. That's all we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed that. I am so in love with that color. I'm seriously, if you want to go Annie Sloan, this is called Henrietta, but you can go whatever paint you want, yeah? I am going to go now and clean everything up, and then I am going to hang this on my wall. I hope you have a fantastic day. Please, 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 if you have a question, send it to me. I would love to hear from you. If you have a craft that you're quite keen to make, then I want to know about it so I can work it out how to do it and I can post it on Make It Monday. And if you do any of these crafts, send me a photo, please. I want to see how great you're doing. In the meantime, I'm going to wish you guys a fabulous day and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.